After a year of introductions, letdowns, blind dates, fix-ups, eHarmony matchmaking, finally this is it, and you are the one. You are the one with that lovely smile. Yes, you are the one. Somehow I know you are the one. I just tell myself this isn't a dream. Somehow I know you and I will be flying like a kite, so high, making every turn a turn that feels right. Somehow I know in 1,000 different ways you are the one. Flying high, you know you are the one. You will be there through the ups and downs. Our love will be there. Somehow I know we will share our life together now and evermore. Somehow I know we will be searching for our way to say every day, I love you and you love me. Yes, we will find our place in the sun. Somehow I know you are the one. Somehow I know you are the one. Yes, I know you are the one. I hope the song You Are the One hit home to a lot of you, since that flash of chemistry and lightning when you meet the person that you feel is right for you certainly is very impressionable. I would like to tell you a story, another couple of stories from my neurosurgery residency. I was called in the emergency room at George Washington University Hospital to evaluate a policeman, a motorcycle cop as a matter of fact, who had fallen off and had a head injury. This was a very busy, chaotic, hectic emergency room, just like you see on television. So there's always a lot going on, and you wanted to take care of things as expediently as possible. At any rate, I went down and saw this young, athletic-looking motorcycle cop who was lying on a gurney. He was in full policeman regalia with his helmet and his sunglasses and his polished boots up to his knees with flared pants, and he had his handcuffs and his blackjack and everything else that showed that he was the real McCoy. So he's lying down, perfectly awake, neurologically intact, and I examine him and I see that he has a small little cut over his eyebrow. So I said, this is no big deal. It just take a couple stitches and I'll sew it up, and that's the end of it. So then as I turn around, he grabs me by the arm and says, wait a minute, Doc, you mean to say you've got to use a needle to sew up my cut? I said, it's just a very small cut. It's no really big deal at all. He said, well, could you do me a favor? I said, what's that? He said, could you call my sergeant? So I said, okay, fine. I called his sergeant. So his sergeant turned out to be a big, burly, tough-looking motorcycle cop, again, with the full regalia, with the helmet, the glasses, the pistols in his holsters, and the boots and the whole deal, standing with his hands on his hips, his legs spread apart, with his chest out, proud, and he says to his friend, so what is it? And the patient responds, Sarge, I hate to ask you this, but can you hold my hand? So the sergeant is standing up there perplexed, and he shakes his head back and forth, and he goes, oh, you're giving us a big bad name, and he takes his hand and he holds his hand, and then I went ahead and did the sewing up of his little scalp wound. Not a big deal at all. Another story that involves a jail was this. As a resident, part of our responsibility was that we had to take turns covering the DC jail for any type of emergency to happen. And one Saturday night at about 11 o'clock, I was called over to the jail. And I was let in through the big, heavily barred doors, and they led me down the corridor to another couple of rooms, and locking and unlocking the steel confining doors. So I came to this door that went from ceiling to floor with a small window towards the top, about 5 feet high. And I rang the buzzer, and on the intercom I hear a voice saying, "Who is it?" I introduced myself, and he said, "Fine," and then he opened the door. Well, kind of to my surprise, I saw a very small guard who came up to about my waist, and again, he also had the same police garb on, with a blackjack and with the handcuffs and with everything else that identified him as the real McCoy. So I looked down at him and I said, "What's the problem?" He looks up at me and he says, "It's Jones. I had to put him down." I said, "Really? Well, where is he?" He says, "Follow me." So I followed him down the corridor, past the other cells with the prisoners hanging onto the bars who were confined within, and he takes me to finally to a cell at the end of the hall and opens it up, and you go into a bare cell. There's just the silvery toilet and a sink, and that's about it. And then on the cot, there was a very large man who must have been at least 6'4". He must have weighed about 250 pounds, and he's lying on his belly, and he's handcuffed to the cot leg, which was attached to the floor. However, he was awake now, and he was okay. I examined him, and I realized that there was nothing serious, but I said, "What happened to him?" He said, "Well, we got into an altercation, and I had to put him down." So just the image of this very small man putting down this great big man kind of took me by surprise. Anyway, indeed, he had effected the deed. And I examined the patient, and he did have some bruising on his head, but there was no clear opening. It didn't look like he was in terrible shape. And so we did obtain a CAT scan in those days, which did not show that he had any kind of injury to his brain or to his skull, and I was able to leave. So I was able to leave then with all the clanging, the banging from the cell doors, and go outside to the safety of the fresh air and back to my home.